Richard Whitten.
Hello?
Hi.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can anyone hear me?
Yes. Yes,
Oh,
Richard.
okay. Okay, I'm sorry. So we have the distinct pleasure of having in our presence a longtime a Newarker and the new executive director of the Greater Newark Conservancy. Now she was the deputy director of the Newark Trust for Education. And prior to joining the trust, she served as the office manager and the vice president and assistant vice president of the arts education at the New Jersey Performing Arts Center. There, she developed a deeper understanding and attraction to the educational landscape of her hometown, Newark. With a commitment to the development of her city, she has devoted significant time to civic engagement and immersion in the arts community of Newark. Through personal and professional experiences, she has witnessed the impact of service on the human spirit and the power of collective action and experience. She believes in a holistic approach to constructing nonprofit organizations, programs, and services, which combine cultural awareness with theory and best practices, lending itself to the elevation of communities. She currently serves on the board of directors for the Newark Art and the GEM program and on the Leadership Council of Arts at Newark. She is a proud alumnus of Leadership Newark. She holds a BA in sociology from the Newark Rutgers University and a master's in public administration from Rutgers. She's also a certified professional with the Society of Human Resources Management and holds a certificate in social impact strategies from University of Pennsylvania's Center for Social Impact Strategies. She's also served as a moderator, facilitator, and consultant for a number of cultural organizations and causes over the years. So I present to you the new executive director of the Greater Newark Conservancy, NATASHA Dyer.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. So this is actually the first time I'm presenting to any organization or group of people in my new capacity as executive director of Greater Newark Conservancy. So this is exciting and both a little nervous for me. So what I'm going to go through today is where we are now at the Conservancy, where I envision us being and the first step in getting there. And what I would ask for you is to give me your honest and candid feedback. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing my screen. Okay, can everyone see? Okay, yes. Thank you. Okay, so again, my name is NATASHA Dyer, Executive Director of Greater Newark Conservancy. And
NATASHA, we don't see it full screen. We see the slides on the bottom.
Okay, let me.
Excuse me. I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. Oh, here we go. Is that full screen now?
Now it is, yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so again, my name is NATASHA Dyer, Executive Director of Greater Newark Conservancy, and the title of this presentation is Cultivating a City in Bloom, because that's what I envision the Conservancy doing. Sorry for that. So where we are now. After 35 years in operations, the Greater Newark Conservancy welcomed its first leader of color and first Newark native to lead the organization in June of 2022. And with that, actually prior to welcoming me on board, The board of directors did significant work during a year-long process. They did a deep dive into diversity, equity, inclusion, justice, and belonging. And in addition to that, they revised the mission statement. So the new mission statement for Greater Newark Conservancy. Okay, so the new mission statement for Greater Newark Conservancy is to foster collaboration in our community at the intersection of environmental, food, and racial justice to promote the health and well-being of Newark residents. And we envision Newark and its surrounding communities with universal and equitable access to nutritious food and a green, resilient, sustainable, and healthy urban environment for all those who live, work, and recreate here.
Natasha, can you speak just a little closer to the mic? Thank you. I have lousy
Okay.
mic here.
Is this better?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, wait, how do Oh, there we go. Okay, our current programs include urban agriculture, community greening, youth and family education, environmental stewardship and justice, and we're also in the process of a capital campaign. Now, the Greater Newark Conservancy's programs seek to help address the root causes of environmental degradation and poor health by establishing community gardens and urban agricultural spaces for residents to cultivate their own healthy organic food, by increasing access to quality foods at reasonable prices for those who are unable to raise their own produce. And that's through our farm stands and our farmers markets. We also bring quality environmental education and nutritional health lessons and activities to Newark students and families. We also implement youth development and career exploration through our NYLP program for high school students and college students. And we provide residents with outdoor green spaces for recreation and community building, along with raising awareness about hazardous environmental conditions and encouraging residents to advocate for clean environments. At the Hawthorne Avenue Farm, we have 3 acres of land where we also manage our Plotted Fresh program, where we have 220 raised beds. Of the 220 raised beds, we have sold, I want to say 159, and of that, we are nearing 50% owned by Newark residents. We also have school gardens, fruit tree orchards, and over 100 rows of produce. In the NYLP project, I'm sorry, the Newark Youth Leadership Project, again, we operate the farm stand. We implement environmental education, and they have the opportunity to work with our horticulturalists and in urban farming. And so I'm just actually going to jump to the capital campaign portion, because this is going to be a critical component of the future of Newark. So the Conservancy is in the middle of a $5 million capital campaign to renovate our historic synagogue. And the intention is to have space for administration, public programming, community engagement, and potential rental income. Now, the new vision is for the Conservancy to serve as a backbone organization and to adopt a collective impact model. So actually, I'm going to back up a little bit. I kind of skipped something. And this is relevant to the synagogue and the capital campaign that we're, I'm sorry, and the capital campaign that we're currently undergoing. So the synagogue really serves as a source of pride for the Conservancy and has potential to play a major role in the work moving forward. However, the opportunity to use this project as a centerpiece in the Conservancy's efforts to promote community engagement had not been realized. So that's something that we are looking to do in the near future. And the synagogue represents perhaps our best opportunity to facilitate community-wide dialogue around organization's future role. And the intention, again, is to use it to promote environmental, economic, and social benefit for the community. And in order to do that, we know that we need community input in shaping what that looks like moving forward. So collective impact. Collective impact is a network of community members, organizations, and institutions who advance equity by learning together, aligning and integrating their actions to achieve population and systems level change. And there are 5 conditions required for collective impact, right? The first is having a common agenda, and that's a common understanding of the problem and a shared vision for change. Having shared measurement, and that's collecting data and measuring results. Focus on performance management and shared accountability. The third condition is mutually reinforcing activities, which include differentiated approaches and coordination through joint planning of action. The fourth is continuous communication, consistent and open communication, and focus on building trust. And the fifth is backbone support. And that's a separate organization with staff, resources, and skills to convene and coordinate the participating organizations. And that's the role that I envision Greater Newark Conservancy serving for other organizations, entities, and individuals who are operating or interested in environmental justice work and food justice work. Now, how do we get there? The short answer is we get there together, right? It's important that we nurture community relations and engage community voice. Now, to nurture community relations and elevate the visibility of programs offered by GNC, it's important to understand the complexity of the disconnect by identifying both internal and external contributing factors. So as I mentioned earlier, the board of directors underwent significant work prior to appointing me the new executive director. And part of that looked at the fracture between the community and the conservancy, which they wholeheartedly acknowledge and are eager to repair. Now, understanding the contributing factors to that fracture provides us with critical information to develop an intentional and meaningful community engagement strategy that positions Greater Newark Conservancy as a community participant, right? And that would allow us to foster trust and a sense of belonging for both the Conservancy and community members in a manner that resonates with all of us. So I've developed a framework for a 5-step approach to getting us to clarity. And so the first step in the approach is a needs assessment. So this phase determines how we define community while identifying the current state of community relations. Internally, we'll be looking at programmatic health, and that's the social impact that we deliver through our programs. That's part of it, at least. It also will examine partnership engagement and assumptions about community members that may negatively impact program delivery and or community reception. And this phase will also assess partnerships for collective benefit. The second phase in the approach is issue framing. So the information generated here helps us to reorient community members as meaningful contributors to organizational success and helps us to foster appreciation for their lived experiences and insights, right? So as I mentioned before, it's important to have community members shape how we will shape the new iteration of the Conservancy to make sure that we're meeting the true needs of community members. The third step, and this is the one that I would like to focus on today and get your feedback and input on, and it's facilitating an advisory board, right? And so the advisory board would engage community members to help shape the future of the Conservancy, and it would be populated by community members, many organizational leaders or members of organizations that serve in the areas of food justice and environmental justice, and those other organizations that support and or contribute and or align with those efforts. The fourth step in the process is strategy development, which would be informed in a large part by the advisory board. So this step produces a comprehensive community engagement strategy and articulates potential changes that may occur within the organizational structure, culture, and or relationships with a plan to address change and manage expectations, both internally and externally. So this acknowledges the fact that in the new iteration of Greater Newark Conservancy, the programs that currently exist may change. The current administration or employees staffing model may change, as well as the focus on our external bodies of work. So the fifth phase in the process is to assess internal readiness. And so this really looks at the need to establish quick wins along the way to gain momentum or to maintain momentum, and to maintain interest, while also addressing internal capacity issues in the areas of staff time, skill development, organizational culture, and professional support. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. So I envision the Conservancy serving as a collective impact organization, or adopting a collective impact model and serving as a backbone organization, because I know that there are several entities within a city that are working in the same areas, but there's not necessarily one cohesive plan that brings us all together in a way that can withstand different administrations and political cycles. So my rationale for developing this approach is that if there is a collective impact organization kind of supporting efforts in this way, we can help these smaller organizations become more sustainable through developing communities of practice, by offering technical assistance, and really working together, bringing all bodies together to develop that common vision and way forward. So to that end, I would like to open it up for questions, comments, and feedback on, whether or not you think the Conservancy would be ideal in serving as a backbone organization, and if you even think that there's a need for one.
I want to say something. I've been waiting for this day, so I love your concept. Because when I first started with Trust for Public Land, we had a real strong relationship with Greater Newark Conservancy, and some of the things that they offered in the early 2000s was the field trips. I'm glad that you're talking about that, where Lee, I think his name was, we would meet in the United Way parking lot and all the community folks, and we go to wine galleries and, botanical gardens. I was on the community advisory board, so it was great going to visit the gardens and you being a judge, and you meet so many different people from different organizations and walks of life while you're doing that. So Greater Newark Conservancy has your youth leadership program. Our park rangers started with 2 students from Greater Newark Conservancy, and from those students, it opened the door to a deeper relationship in growing that program. And then when you talk about cross working together, some of your horticulturalists, we partnered to come and do pruning workshops for the facilities at the playgrounds that we built, and also the friends groups when they're doing cleanup. So it matches something that we tried to do, but it wasn't the right time. And so it's going to be really beneficial for organizations to band together, like what you're saying, to collectively empower and include the community, and then also put community in a place so that they can start their own visions or missions with the support from us. So I'm really excited about it, and standing on the side waiting to see how I can assist moving the vision forward. I want to say, it's a legacy for the seniors that came before me that had this vision, because it's not mine, I learned it, but it's their legacy and our duty to help you, the youth, that's what I'm going to call you, to realize your vision. And so I'm very excited with the few years that's ahead of me to make it.
Thank you for that, Donna.
You're welcome.
And I'll definitely be reaching out to you when we ignite the community advisory board.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you.
Great morning. Congratulations, Miss Natasha. I am so excited, in listening to you and seeing you in this capacity. It brings back old sparks and memories and connection and commitment that the Greater Newark Conservancy had for the community. As a new teacher, a new resident of Newark, New Jersey, when I first met the Conservancy, it was a vibrant space and connected to the community on so many levels. They had the teacher boxes that the teachers could rent and had all their supplies. It had the garden contest. It had the trips. It had the teacher workshops. It had all of those vibrant programming that supported the community. And it was really like a playground for our children to come to and see this space that they walked by, or, that tall build, that high-rise building that was once there, that they could look out their grandparents' window and see this space that they had never gone to. So to have that return to the Conservancy will be a benefit, not just for us as the adults on this call, but also for our children. And I'm just so excited, and anything that I can do to support you to make this happen, I'm here. I'm here for you.
Appreciate it. Does anybody else have any comments or questions, or just want to discuss things that they would like to see the Conservancy do or come out of the Conservancy in the new iteration? Yes, Susan.
Thank you, Ms. Natasha. It is really a thrilling vision, and also the groundwork. The support of it is just so logical and holistic and comprehensive and complementary. I think that's what's very compelling. I first want to say, oh, can we steal all of it for other nonprofits? Because there it is. But I also, 10 years ago, we did a few short videos. We've always done short videos as kind of transformative. We did a number of them on Newark, and so the Conservancy played a role in those too. So it is very exciting. When you say back two questions of mine, when you say, can it be a backbone organization, from my view, absolutely, because we've always looked at the Conservancy as kind of the biggest of the the driving environmental organizations. But I'd love to know what your other two or three, what the other two or three candidates would be, if there are such a thing. You had mentioned what isn't so cohesive. I'd be interested in just the quick learn. And then the other question I had, just from what Donna and Dina said, is how long ago, are we talking 15 years? How long ago were those vibrant complements of teachers enacting? Has it been 20 years since, or 15 years, or just to get a sense of the pace of history? And things change, I understand. It's not a judgment. I'm just interested in knowing when you last experienced that connectedness.
So Dina, do you want to answer that
Well,
part first, and I'll go back to the first question?
okay, for me, I started in Newark in 85, right? So about 4 years into 85, that's when we were able as teachers to rent those boxes. So, a long time ago, right? So, and then the garden space, that really just ended, the garden contest, that really ended maybe, I don't know what, 10 years ago, perhaps I'd have to really, kind of calculate it out of my head. And then the other thing that was really missed, and the community really, really misses, is the plant sale that they used to have in the spring. That was a place, the Conservancy was a place where Newark residents who gardened and who wanted to beautify their homes with flowers were able to come and either pre-order or pick up their flowers from there, and that was really missed. The garden contest was a place where every ward was represented. And like Miss Donna said, you got to meet different organizations, you got to meet families who this was their food source. You know, and they would get their produce or their plants from, not the produce, but their plants from the plant sale. So it was this full circle kind of approach. And then we would meet at NJIT and it would be this huge family like environment, and we would have prizes and, you know, food, and they would get different organizations throughout New Jersey really to donate prizes, right? So it wasn't such a financial hardship so much on the Conservancy. So those are the things that, you know, people still ask me about because they know my love and they know my connection with the Conservancy.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Dina. Now, Susan, can you reshare your first question?
Oh, when you said that, you know, your vision was to be a backbone organization, and then you referenced several other large organizations with mission complementarity that weren't necessarily cohesive. I just wondered if it's obvious to everybody which ones they are, just to kind of get the lay of the land.
Oh, well, what I meant by that is we have a lot of organizations within the city who are working in urban agriculture,
Right.
environmental justice, food justice, and they're all doing their own thing. Sometimes we collaborate together, but there's not an overarching body to
I
pull
see.
all of these
Yeah.
organizations together, right?
So
And
yeah.
identify that common vision and to provide I'm sorry, provide the technical assistance needed to sustain collective work, right? And to organize those communities of practice where all of these organizations are learning from one another,
Right.
and elevating each other in their efforts.
Yeah.
So
That is
oftentimes, smaller organizations don't have the capacity to facilitate those dialogues. They oftentimes don't have the capacity for the types of professional development and technical assistance they need to really build a sustainable business,
Yeah.
especially in the areas of urban agriculture and food justice and environmental justice. So the backbone entity would pretty much provide those avenues of support.
And thank you for that. I was interested because there's several of the New Jersey Sustainability Reporting Fellows have done news stories on urban ag in Newark. I think there's a few new ones just even this week, but the Newark Science and Sustainability and Tobias Fox, we'd enjoyed having on several different forums several times. So my sense was there was quite a movement, an urban farm organizing movement. So I was interested in that.
Yeah. So definitely the organizations that are in urban agriculture, we do work together, we do collaborate, but not on that larger scale.
Right. Thank you.
That's such a need for that, Natasha, because a lot of times, even myself as a small organization or, you know, business looking to get support, technical support in different, you know, areas of support, to have a place where you can go to, one place where you can go to and not just get support from that one organization, but input from other organizations collectively, because individually, each of us who have our organizations are powerful and we do great things, but collectively, just think how much more powerful we could be if we're able to come together and collectively impact change and share that information and support our children, because that's the key for me, right? Is engaging our children in this sustainability and this environmental impact, because it's part of their curriculum now, right? It's part of their curriculum.
Yeah.
Right. And those supports are needed, right? From examining different business models for sustainability to addressing issues of human resources or communications and marketing,
Right.
or designing an engagement program.
Thank you for this, Natasha. I enjoyed your presentation and very inspiring. I loved your vision, and it's a lot. And you know, I had the same question that Suzanne had in terms of the backbone. And it's great, as Dina said, to have a place, you know, where a lot of these organizations can go and, you know, I guess brainstorm, exchange ideas, resources, because there are so many different smaller organizations who do not have the resources. And then what happens sometimes is, you know, that some, like one organization gets to be the main organization, the main go-to. And so other funding sources and, you know, other people outside who are not too familiar with, you know, the, I guess the setup and the other organizations, the ecology of the different organizations and people that are involved, you know, they just focus on that one person or that one organization. So this way, it's a way, I guess, to focus on, you know, to different organizations and highlight what they are doing, because we each, you know, have our own specific strengths and weaknesses. And so to support each other that way, it's wonderful. And I also do remember the garden contest. You know, I was one of the judges a long time ago when I first moved to Newark. Like I think a year after I moved, and you know, getting a layout of the land and trying to participate in different activities. And I also remember the plant sales. And you know, it was a nice place to go. You know, just and I remember attending some of the meetings also with Robin, and then also the prisoner reentry program. I went to a graduation ceremony there, and I was just there. Was it a month ago that you guys had a celebration? It was a school and GED program.
Yes.
And because I hadn't been there in such a long time, and then I got the invitation in the mail, and I, you know, and it brought back a nice feeling. Oh, you know, the Greater Newark Conservancy. So I went, you know, just to, you know, reconnect again. And your vision and the way you present it, I see it's very well thought out, and you know, and it's exciting to see that. Because sometimes people come in and they just want to make changes without any community input, you know, and also without taking, in the tradition of the past of what's happened and acknowledging the hard work that others have already done, and, you know, other, you know, programs that are in play that may not get a lot of attention. So the way that you're balancing it, you know, and your sensitivity to it, you know, it's worthy of acknowledgement. And, you know, I may not be able to participate in the advisory board because right now my plate is full with the Weekwood Park Association. Excuse me, a whole other story. And, you know, but definitely, you know, I will gladly provide any support, you know, that that you may need.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Good
so-
morning. Yes.
I just wanna say,
Yeah.
someone asked whether or not, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, couple of things I wanted to say. Welcome. Congratulations to see you in the position that you're in. It's good to see a young woman from Newark, in Newark, leading a major organization here. A lot of things spoken about that I'm familiar with, the garden club, when we were judging the various gardens and buying plants, the poinsettia sale. And it was a good thing to come to Newark and see all the, be in Newark and see those things, and people from outside of Newark referencing them as well. I'm sorry, my other system shut down. But also some of the things you have, the cooking shows, the cooking programs. It would be great to see if we can bring those back. And I think Sister Hajadina said about the youth, but what do we have on board, on deck for our seniors? We have a plethora of seniors here that would be great to have them involved, perhaps coming back and working in the garden, come back, have cooking, and those types of things. I hope that we can have some of that where it's intergenerational, where we have the youth and the elders, the seniors working together. Yeah, the cooking programs, because they love it, everyone. And it teaches our kids, it's not where the food comes from, but more the nutrients, how much better it is if they learn how to cook them themselves and not going and eating all this fast food. So, and welcome again.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So these are the type of conversations that I anticipate having once we activate the Community Advisory Board. Just what you just said, things that you would like to see the organization doing, former programming that kind of lapsed or went dormant that you would like to see reignited, and new programming and initiatives. So are there any more questions or comments? If not, I have another question for the group.
So I was just gonna, in addition to the sale and awards program, mention the Plotted Fresh program and the way that that used to support neighborhood-based gardeners and gardens. That's actually how folks in my neighborhood were able to start a garden. And the lot that we use is one that Greater Newark Conservancy had partnered with the city on to allocate. So at one point there was a part, and there might still be, a partnership between Greater Newark Conservancy and the Adopt a Lot program, where the Conservancy was kind of, I think, the able to allocate some of those lots for community use. And through that partnership with Greater Newark Conservancy, we brought the people, the interested gardeners, they already had the lot, and they actually donated everything. We paid the fee that individuals have to pay. I think back then it might have been $10 or $15 to be part of it, to participate. But then GNC brought the beds, the soil, the plants, and rain barrels, and really got us set up. And it seemed that over time, that attention and those resources were being shifted to the farms, and so that was a little disappointing. But another opportunity, I guess, for collective work is around the allocation of land in the city for gardening. And I know there have been conversations about that, especially in terms of the Adopt a Lot program and how that access to land might be modified so that people don't end up with their garden sites being sold and then finding out at the last minute. So that's one, I think, an example of where some collective work could be effective, especially if there's an entity that could kind of provide some of that backbone support for that. And another area similar to that might be some of the environment-oriented youth programs, because there are a number of those across the city, and we have found with the park rangers that when they are able to interact with youth from other related programs, that ends up being a good experience. And there's been conversations, I guess, with Victoria, at one point, Victoria Foundation, about ways to do that. And even the Sustainability Office, I think, has expressed interest in thinking about moving towards a way where those young people could be connected, and where some of the programs might even be expanded. Ours only operates at one park during the summer. We would love to be able to expand to year-round offerings. And it may be easier to do that if we're in partnership with others around that. So this whole issue, I guess, around youth development related to these areas with an kind of employment development component as part of that. So thank you for your leadership already. You've already made, I think, a big difference, even in terms of shifting how we have this conversation. So it's not just the big organization that sucks up all the resources.
Right,
And
exactly.
instead it's the community and how can we all pull together for the benefit of the community. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And thank you actually for bringing up the issue with access to land for green space. So I'm actually having a conversation with Marcus Randolph from Invest Newark to speak about how, or to brainstorm rather, how we can allocate a portion of a lots that they have, especially the smaller ones, for community gardeners and green space. So that is definitely on my list and in the works, and I'm glad we are all aligned.
Yes.
Yeah, because Natasha, Newark Conservancy always had access to the list of small plots that weren't suitable for building. The Adopt a Lot program, they always had that list, and people were referred from different organizations, not necessarily from the city, but different organizations who wanted to adopt plots. They would contact the Conservancy for that list of spaces that weren't suitable for building so that they could build. And then the Conservancy would come out and provide rake, shovels, bags, you know, if there was cleanup for if there was cleanup needed in those spaces. The Conservancy would be like the support team to come and do that. And often it wasn't a lot of cleanup that had to be done, but if it was available, if it was needed, the Conservancy was that go-to person, that go-to organization.
That's helpful to know. You know, I noticed that as everyone's speaking, there's a lot being said in the past tense. So I'm curious, from your perspective and where you sit, like what's the disconnect? Why haven't you visited the Conservancy in so long? You know,
I just put something in the chat for you. One of, in my opinion and in my view, I love the Conservancy. You know, I'm not going to, you know, the Conservancy knows. But one of the things I feel that was really that disconnect is when the reentry program came to the Conservancy, that kind of overshadowed everything. I'm not quite sure when that happened, but soon after that, things started going in a different direction. And that was at one time that reentry program throughout New Jersey was the buzzword. And a lot of organizations were getting funding for that. And that was the focus. And I'm sure that took a lot of energy from the other things that were going on at the Conservancy. And then the staff turnover, like for the garden program, the contest, that took whoever was in charge of the greenhouse or the grounds. So that, you know, it just, I think the reentry program just changed the flow and just the vibe of the Conservancy. The programs for the camps not camps, but the field trips went away. You know, all of the things that we're talking about in the past just seemed to go away. And then the other focus was getting the Conservancy from that trailer space that they had into the space that they're in now, right? So that was another energy focus. So that's why some of the other programs seem to kind of, you know, go away. It was just these bigger projects started coming in the scope of the Conservancy, as opposed to all of these little, because everything that we're talking about in the past were kind of little things that the community made big, right? The community made these things big, but it started with small staff, and I'm not quite sure who the staff was, but it was that you know, the small staff that did that. And then these bigger programs kind of came and just, to me, just took over.
You know, that's so interesting because after we did these two videos, this is way back in 2012, one on Adopt a Lot, and I had gotten to know, oh, there was this conservancy that provided the 4x8s and provided the resources to people to do the Adopt a Lot. It was so interesting that, of course, I wanted to follow up and learn more about the conservancy itself. And we had a lovely visit there, but what stands out in my mind is exactly what you said. Being shown the new facility that had just recently been, and it was very impressive, just the offices, the space. Hearing about the reentry program, and that was big and bold and impressive. And then being shown the synagogue that would be way down the road. So that's exactly what was the takeaway of what the organization was going to be doing. It's just interesting. And that was I think it was 2012.
Yeah. And it's not that those
13.
things, and it's not that those things weren't needed or
Right.
appreciated in the community, because the Greater Newark Conservancy, their reentry program was one of the top in the state of New Jersey.
Right.
They had their stats were high. But what I'm saying is it took away from the connection. It took away from, and I don't think it was by design. I don't think it was deliberate. I think it was just the energy. It just took so much more focus from the staff that was there to get these things done, because they were, grants and, contracts and things like that. And we know how those things work. So you have deadlines, right? So all of those other things that were so vibrant for the community were kind of, let go to get these things done that had to get done.
Not to mention that was where a lot of the funding was at the time. Everybody was getting on board, with prisoner reentry.
Yep.
And for a time I was community service program coordinator for the Adopt a Lot program. And so I would place offenders, for community service, and I would try to get them to do community service at gardens. And one of the places that I had tried to place them was with Newark, Greater Newark Conservancy. And we also try to push, like a cooking program when the new kitchen came in and some other things. But we always got the impression that what was most important was the prisoner reentry. And so everything else was pushed off to the wayside. And the whole focus was, and that's important, the prisoner reentry, like Dina said, it's, not that it's not needed, but sometimes it's hard for one organization to focus on so many different big things.
Right.
And so, the vision and the objective and mission, gets pushed off to the side. And then everybody else, they're all fighting for those prisoner reentry dollars.
Yeah, and so it is only my 5th week and I'm still collecting the puzzle pieces, but I do know that the reentry program, this is exactly one of the reasons why they dismantled or dislocated the reentry program. So that sunset back in 2020. And it was because it really didn't align with the core mission of the Conservancy. And to your point, it was the cause of a lot of the fracture with the community. So we're looking to reshift. Eventually, I do anticipate another workforce development program, probably reentry, but one that focuses more on training people on the installation and maintenance of living walls and green roofs, right? Something that's more aligned with our focus areas. And possibly, this is like a huge wish of mine, I would like to see a sustainable business incubator.
They haven't told you about the fish farm fiasco?
Fish farm, do tell. Do tell.
When are you starting trouble? Early in the morning. See that, Wendy?
I thought it was a fish swap, not just a.
Well, before Winnie gives you that little piece, I had to check with Don to see if I could say this. But the prison reentry program started in Newark with former Councilman Oscar James. If anybody remember that, they would come in and I think they worked the summer program. They did some work out there in the South Ward. I don't know if he was out there at that particular time, but Donna saw the potential in that. And Donna pushed here in the city of Newark for the prison reentry, and I think that's how one of the ways it sifted over into Greater Newark Conservancy over the years. But Oscar James started it here in the city of Newark, pushed by Donna, and now we have it here. That's some of the little stuff they don't talk about here, but that is how it really got to be a big issue, big funding here in the city of Newark through Oscar James and Donna Kirkland, our own Donna Kirkland.
And Newark had the best. It was the best at the Conservancy.
Yes,
really was.
yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yes.
It just sounds like the capacity, the internal capacity wasn't there to sustain all of it, right? The community-based programming and the reentry program.
Yes.
Right. Absolutely. And there's so many green jobs now to have a program similar to that where you're training prisoners, people coming out of prison who are interested in all of these different green jobs that are available now will be more in alignment with what the Conservancy mission is, from growing to cooking to teaching to sharing.
At one time, they elaborate on what the goal of the prison reentry was, and it was really ex-gangbangers with the councilman, and then hiring Project Youth at the time to be the facilitator. But it was really steered to make sure they got their GED if they didn't have it, their driver's license. There was a component where they were being trained to do computer repairs to give back to battered women shelters, making sure they had uniforms, a van, and then the out part would be that they would get a job with the city to work on the parks and the green spaces. And some of them did just before we had all of those budget crises. And so it was really to nurture, support, and help them on their way. One person unfortunately went back to jail, but there was 3 folks that did get jobs with the city, young ex-gangbangers. We couldn't.
And we actually we still have some staff members at the Conservancy that were alumni of the reentry program.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And so a few, but like you said, when we come together, I mean, we wanted to put the economic piece around the community, around the parks and playgrounds. And so what you're saying, when we come together collectively with resources and the nurturing, we can still do those things. I mean, we couldn't do it, but we got grants to hire someone else to do it, not just the parks and playgrounds, but city streets.
Right.
So I think it could be.
And I think it's also like having these types of conversations and bringing everyone in is also helpful in thinking about how can we imagine something like that, another reentry program that doesn't monopolize the other efforts in the community, right?
Yes.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Well, this is just so fascinating. I just so appreciate the different perspectives on the history, the experience. It's very, it's a complete expression. So I really appreciate that. I can't help but just say that I've fallen in love with a book that just came out. This is just FYI. It just came out a month and a half ago. It's called Mini Forest Revolution. And it's wonderfully short. It's only 164 pages, but it documents the fast growing small forest movement that is way ahead in Europe. But basically a mature native forest can be self-sustaining within 3 years rather than 60. on a space, urban spaces the size of 6 parking spaces or a basketball court. So it's just a great other aspect of green jobs, of planting, of restoring our environment, of engaging the community. It's just one more thing, but it's especially exciting. So highly recommended. I could see a number of mini forests in Newark, in each ward, you know, wherever it would have most impact, and they say grow the forest with enough room for kids to have classes there, so it becomes a
Yes.
part of their curriculum. It's very holistic. It's very beautiful.
Yeah, there was one across from
Mhm.
City Hall, but it was cut down.
Yes.
Urban,
I
yeah,
used to live right across
unfortunately.
the street from there when I was in the Hallmark apartments.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunate. And we're having in the Highlands our battle with the forest there. You know, New Jersey Forest Watch, SaveSpartaMountain.org, and the New Jersey Highlands Coalition is also part of that.
Oh, great to know. Great to know.
Yeah, and there's a New Jersey Forest Task Force convened by Senator Bob Smith, and they meet.
Okay. Okay.
Natasha, do you have a time frame for the work that you described? That I think had maybe 5 stages. I'm not sure if that's the right number, but do you have any sense
So
of?
5 stages. I have not pinned down a time frame yet, but we are in the beginning stages of reactivating our internal PR committee at the board level, and from that we're going to build out the community engagement committee. So it'll be a subcommittee of that. I anticipate that we'll start formulating that and reaching out for people to participate in the community advisory board within the next few months or so.
Okay, great.
Specific timeline still needs to be developed.
So some of the program that we talked about, when you said we were talking in the past, are you, based on the timeline and your vision, those programs will be coming back? Some of those programs will be coming back?
Yeah, so it will be based on the feedback that we get, right? From
Yes.
the community advisory board, and I imagine doing listening tours. So it'll be based on what you all want to see. So yes, most likely, because I've been hearing about the same programs from several people now.
I had a question, not a question.
Natasha, that beautiful presentation, are we understanding that you've done that comprehensive, clear analysis with and the 5th week of your job, or were you part of the strategic planning?
Well, so during the hiring process, there was actually a writing assignment, and I did my entire writing assignment about community engagement based on my understanding of the Conservancy and their relationship with the community programs that they had. So a lot of the presentation came from that writing assignment. And in the writing assignment, I essentially mapped out this 5-phase process, which I fully intended.
Well, I think we should all congratulate you on highly efficient use of resources by doing that.
That's one of my best skills. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Any more questions, comments?
I just thank you for this. This is exciting. Congratulations. They chose well.
Thank you. I
look-
should also mention before we all go, I have to do a plug for some things. Today, we're actually having a farmer's market at the Hawthorne Avenue Farm from 11 to 3, where we'll also be having cooking classes and fitness sessions between 12 and 1:30. And the farmer's market at Clinton Hill happens the 3rd Saturday of every month. And then the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays of every month, we will have farmers markets at the Prince Street location. So you can come, hang out in the gardens, enjoy some music, buy some produce, and shop the vendors.
Do you
And I'll
have,
send that information to
you
Carla.
have flyers for that?
Yes, I'll email everything to Carla.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Anyone else want to share? Okay, so
I do. I have a share at the Culture Spot, 239 Hawthorne Avenue. We're having our talent show today between 1 and 3. I'm sorry, 1 and 3. And that's the Culture Spot in Newark on Hawthorne and Chadwick Avenue.
oh, on the corner. Okay.
Mhm.
You have a
Oh.
flyer for that you can send me and I can post up?
Uh,
No.
no.
Well, whenever you have something.
I'll send you the brochure.
Okay,
We have
that's
a
good.
pollinator garden there and a vegetable garden as well. We'll be giving out basil today. Our basil is busting at the seams, so we'll be giving out basil today.
Let me know when your lavender gets ready. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I have an announcement. I don't know if you read in the news, it's been all over, that a coalition of organizations, we stopped the Amazon New York, New Jersey Port Authority lease deal. So that's the Good Jobs Clean Air Coalition, which Weekwood Park Association, Newark Environmental Commission, Clean Water Action, we're part of. And so we're having a sort of celebration and also a workshop listening session to talk about, what we've done and to try to get people involved. Because as you know, it's not the end of it. Even though we've won this time, Amazon is most likely going to continue. And this is also an opportunity to empower people and educate them about everything that's going on. So at Weekwick Park Community Center, Monday at 7 o'clock, we're going to be there. So you can register, you can go to the weekwickparkassociation.org website also to look at the information and the flyer. It's done, and all I have to do now is put it up there, and you can get all the information. But just to let you know, Monday at 7 p.m.
Thank you, Wendy. I'll make sure I'm not coming over there at 7 o'clock at night, but I'll make sure I'll post your information.
Okay, thank you.
You're right. Anyone else?
Just a quick, Winifred, congratulations. When was the stop?
Thank you.
When was,
Well, the announcement, the Port Authority, they announced it Thursday. They had a press conference.
wow. And,
Yeah,
and was it a vast warehouse?
it was actually 2 buildings. It was going to be a hub. So fulfillment centers, basically, the airplanes and trucks are going to bring tons of cargo over to that center. And of course, a lot of the trucks then were going to go all over the place, throughout the neighborhood. And we don't need any more emissions. And also pedestrian was killed about a month and a half ago. I think it was at the corner of Frelinghausen and Meeker. And so they've had also, some accidents where the containers fell, but luckily no one was under it. So a whole bunch of issues. And of course, we had testimonies from former Amazon workers and current Amazon workers. I mean, it was just, a bad deal to begin with. And so Congressman Payne, he issued a statement. The mayor was on our side. And the governor, he hasn't said anything. He hasn't congratulated us or anything. But, behind the scenes, there were some people who were working with us. So Mayor Ballwage, also of Elizabeth, he supported us as well. So we got a few support from representatives, though reluctantly at first, but once they saw the coalition made up of not just environmental activists, but local businesses, union workers, Amazon workers, they had no choice.
And congrats, there must have been a lot of work. That's
Oh my
really,
goodness, yeah,
that's
thank you.
really
to-
wonderful.
Yeah, to
Wonderful
show
news.
you, they announced the deal August 2021. right? And they were scheduled to sign it in November 2021. So we had from August, right, until November to stop them from signing that deal.
Wow.
So yeah, so a lot of hard work.
Just along, kind of related, just quickly, the New Jersey Conservation Foundation, is that it? I happen to have a catch up with Allison Mitchell. It's been 5 years we were in Lead, New Jersey, and there, I guess there are many huge warehouse. I hadn't known about this happening all over, that are blindsiding communities because the tax revenue is so huge that the community is just desperate, and they become done deals kind of quickly without anybody knowing that they're gonna. But what Allison said was, yes, they're hearing about it from all over, but there's no coordinated effort yet to help communities fight them. And so it's just happening. Each community is kind of reeling with how do we do it? So it's not exactly the same, but it's something that's happening. And she said, it used to be that there were big developments, big housing, apartment developments or whatever, that or industrial developments, a big whatever park. But now these are so vast you can't even imagine. So
yeah, Clean Water Action is tackling the warehouse issues. Us with Amazon, mostly it was the fulfillment centers and of course the emissions. But we're continuing the fight, and Clean Water Action is with warehousing issues also. And now that people are out more, so in terms of getting the deliveries at home, there's going to be a lull. So a lot of these warehouses, what are they going to do with them? There's not going to be really a need for them anymore.
great.
Yeah, and on the tag on what Susan said earlier, sometime this year, I read an article somewhere, not sure where, but they said New Jersey is now becoming the warehouse state, no longer the garden state, because the lack of legislation and regulation on how and where they can pop up. So yes,
Wow.
that's an issue here in New Jersey that needs to be addressed. Anyone else? Okay, well, August 2nd is National Night Out in our parks. Mildred Helms, Nat Turner, and Jesse Allen Park. On Saturday, August 20th at Nat Turner Park, we will be honoring the spirit of rebellion, from 12 to 4 at Nat Turner Park. And our annual meeting will be Saturday, September 2020 from 10 to 11:30 a.m. That is our annual meeting and board elections for those members. And I'd like to thank everyone for coming. It was a great meeting. I look forward to working with you, NATASHA Dyer, over the Greater Newark Conservancy. And if there's anything I can do, please give me a call. And I want to thank everyone for coming, and have a great day and be cool.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you,
great
everyone.
weekend, everyone.
Congratulations.